He's got gold.
There's 13. So
Against the clock, it really didn't matter.
No scriptwriter could have ever written a better story.
When the world's elite compete in dressage and show jumping, every second matters. Every movement counts. Every jump can change everything. Feel the intensity and experience equestrian sport at its highest level. Be there live on clipmyhorse.tv.
Well, hello there, and a very warm welcome to you to this very special edition of the In and Out Studio. I'm Amy Parks, and I'll be here with you all week and into the weekend as we bring you all of the analysis ahead of the incredible sport coming from Fort Worth in Texas. It is, of course, this World Cup Championship. We have so much coming your way. There is dressage, there is show jumping, and there is one person I want alongside me for the entire ride. It's Charlotte Smet.
This week on In Out, we're joined by Charlotte Smet. Charlotte isn't just an analyst, she's a professional rider herself. That insider experience in the saddle gives her a unique perspective on the numbers, breaking down the data with a rider's instinct. From performance trends to those crucial split-second decisions on course, Charlotte connects analytics with what it really feels like out there in the arena. Get ready for sharper insights and smarter takes, only here on Clip My Horse TV. In Out.
You know, we thought we'd lost her to the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders after I saw a high kick she performed here in the studio at the end of last year, watching some pretty incredible show jumping. But no, here she is. It's Charlotte Smet. Charlotte, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love a championship. I love to get into it.
We've talked a lot about World Cup, the qualifiers, the classes that have been going on throughout the series so far. We talked a lot about what happened at last year's final in Basel. It really was a game of strategy when it came to the show jumping, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. When Julien Epayard won that World Cup finals, there was a lot of thought gone behind it. He had decided not to jump the jump off on the second day to save his horse, but actually he gave up a little bit of an advantage by doing that, which then actually turned into an advantage for him again because his horse was fresher and he managed to win. So it was very well thought out. It was very good horsemanship. It meant that he knew his horse so well that if I don't jump him in this jump off,
and incredible pictures, of course, of him on the phone, the whole team on the phones doing the numbers, trying to work out all of the maths to how it all works in terms of the scoring to get him into that final, which ultimately saw him claim that top prize. But we're going to take a little look back now on that championship in Basel last year.
We witnessed it all at last year's final. The St. Jakobshalle in Basel provided the perfect amphitheatre for a thrilling showdown. One man rose above the rest. Frenchman Julien Epayard and his homebred star Donatello Diorge set an unmatchable pace in the opening speed class. And that early lead became unassailable. Even the bold decision to skip Friday's jump-off proved decisive. Fresh in the final rounds, they secured a historic victory. It was a tussle for the remaining podium spots. Ben Mayer and Point Break took second, with Kevin Stote and Visconti de Telman in third. A wire-to-wire winner and a world-class podium. Basel more than delivered.
Yeah, exceptional stuff there from Julien Epayard aboard Donatello Diorge. Of course, that combination elected not to travel to Texas this year, so we won't be seeing the defending championship back, although he automatically qualifies, given he took the victory last year in Basel, of course. So, the World Cup Championships, very, very exciting stuff. It's coming to us from Fort Worth, from Texas. Couldn't think of anything more exciting than that. Let's learn a little bit about it, though, because if you are looking at it from the outside in, it can sometimes feel a bit daunting. There's a lot to it. So the World Cup Finals, let's look at 4 fast facts. What do we know about it? Well, it's an annual indoor individual championships. It is, of course, in both show jumping and dressage. It's the 46th edition, this 2025 and 2026 season. I was almost going a decade backwards there, dating myself. Jumping riders compete in 14 leagues across the world, and dressage riders compete in 4 leagues. So we do have those 2 disciplines represented there in Texas, of course. And when we say, where are we? Well, we are in Fort Worth, and it has a reputation of being an incredibly attached to its country roots, its western roots, just down the road, of course, from Dallas. There is the Dickies Arena. It sits there looking like a gem there in the skyline in Fort Worth. Pretty impressive building. That is the arena where it's all going to take place, underneath that dome, of course. And this has been some of the action that has been going on in the lead up. That there, of course, the arena being built in the middle of that 14,000 seat stadium, and the horses arriving and going for their little walks and bits and bobs around in the sun, where, of course, it's a beautiful climate, 23 degrees there in the sunshine. But all of the competition takes place indoors. So we can talk about this to us, and not to mention the riders as well. Goodness knows what they're going to be getting up to there in Texas. So what do we know about Fort Worth and the Dickies Arena? Let's take a little look at 4 facts. Fort Worth, if you can say that 4 times fast, then you get a trophy as well. It's nicknamed Cow Town because of that rich Western culture, as I referred to it before. 33 miles exactly from the major sort of corporate or urban hub that is Dallas. You will often hear it referred to as Dallas-Fort Worth. Of course, they are almost like a twinned or paired city, but very different. The venue is the Dickies Arena, 14,000 seats, again, as I mentioned earlier. And usually, Charlotte, hosting basketball, hockey, and I know something that you would enjoy, and that's the rodeo. Plenty
Absolutely.
of rodeo shows.
I'd love to.
You'd love to have a go at that, wouldn't you?
100%. If it comes with the attire.
Yes.
Yes.
The costume is
Yes.
included. It's all part of it. That is 100% a part of it. Our wonderful reporter is stateside, of course, and she has been adventuring around in Fort Worth and around Dickies Arena, getting familiar with it, and she's taking a look at the venue in focus.
To the Dickies Arena, this year's host to the Longines FEI World Cup Jumping and Dressage Finals. The venue is going to play host to some of the best horse and rider combinations in the world, all looking to take home that coveted title. From the outside, the Dickies Arena's presence is unmistakable. A modern building based in a city that is steeped in tradition and Western culture. But as we head inside, you can see it's here where the arena truly reveals itself. This is a space that was designed not just to host events, but to really elevate them. As you can see behind me, there is so much seating. There's room for 14,000 people, but despite its vast scale, there really is a feeling of intimacy between the spectators and the riders. You really do feel like you're close and up next to them. As with all great equestrian events, it's not just about what's going on. There's some amazing shopping to be had, and I've heard the riders have been getting involved as well, as they've been given some brand new cowboy boots and been fitted with some pretty amazing cowboy hats. This is a venue built for those big moments, and as the Longines FEI World Cup unfolds, it's certainly going to shape a new chapter in equestrian history.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jenny. Super stuff. Really, really cool. And we saw there, Charlotte, we saw Becky Moody, dressage rider, in her cowboy hat. And Jenny just touched on this. The fitted for bespoke cowboy hats. And they've been given cowboy boots as well. Please enjoy. I hope we can hear the soundtrack on this.
I wonder if the riders knew before they qualified if they were getting in.
I wonder if they tried to qualify because they knew they were getting cowboy hats.
Exactly.
And who wouldn't? Yeah, so that was taken, those video there, courtesy there of FEI Global. That was the riders' welcome drinks. So everybody got to show off their hats to each other. Excellent. That's what we love to see. Cool. Very, very cool indeed. The FEI is, of course, the major force behind these championships. And, of course, all the sport will be hosted on FEI TV, on Clip My Horse TV. And this championships is set to be like no other.
All season, they've chased points, precision, and perfection. Now, Fort Worth for the FEI World Cup Finals. Skill, partnership, and nerve tested at their limits. Nothing left to prove. Everything left to win the titles of FEI World Cup Final Champions of 2026.
It's all coming your way, and of course, and Clip My Horse TV. So much coming our way, of course, dressage and show jumping, Charlotte, your absolute main passion in life. Some amazing stories, amazing combinations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very strong field. I think especially the home nation, the host nation, the USA, have come with a very strong group, especially with the world #2 rider, Ken Farrington, who has brought his 2 top horses to compete here this week. So I think he's really trying to do well on home soil. But he's not alone. We have Laura Kraut here, Mimi Gotchman, who is a young rider but has been very, very impressive, won her first World Cup qualifier just a couple of months ago out in Ocala. We have seen multiple other riders that are coming forward. I think first to go today is Aaron Vale on Carissimo.
This is what I was going to talk about. Aaron Vale was doing the draw and trying to take the cowboy boot, because that's how they did the draw in Fort Worth. Was it was a sort of all these cowboy boots with numbers underneath them, and they had to go and take the cowboy boot.
I know, and I saw him kind of trying to think strategically and then picking the boots, and then he's first to go. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, he will be following his own plan. He will not be distracted by other people's plans. So that could be a very good thing. Another young rider for the US team, Skylar Wireman, also an under-25 rider. So they have some young up-and-coming riders, but then we also have the Ken Farringtons and the Laura Krauts, who will, I'm sure, guide that younger group a little bit and kind of help them. For Mimi, for example, her first championship like this.
Yeah, and it's been a real topic of conversation, the riders that will actually be on deck to start this week, because it is a big year. It's a championships year. There's a World Equestrian Games also coming down the pipe as well. So it's been one of those things where riders have had to be strategic in their approach about whether they travel, if they're coming from Europe or other parts of the world. But we are looking forward to seeing a lineup where we are seeing riders from New Zealand, from Australia, from across the world coming forward and, well, putting their best foot forward, their best hoof forward this week there in Fort Worth. But from the outside looking in with a World Cup, it can sometimes be, with the World Cup finals indeed, can sometimes feel a little bit complicated to understand how the sport works. But we, in our studio, our job is to take you all through that and make you feel really at home with it ahead of all of the action in the arena. So how does it work? Well, Rosie Russell, our journalist, has been taking a look.
Both the Jumping and Dressage World Cup are built around a league structure. Riders compete in leagues according to where they live. There are 12 distinct leagues across 6 continents. Throughout the October to April season, riders collect points by competing in designated World Cup qualifier events spread across their region, providing multiple chances to perform and accumulate points. In jumping, points are awarded to the top 16 finishers at each qualifier event, with 20 points for the winner, down to 1 point for 16th place. Crucially, points belong to the rider, not the horse. Riders can't just enter every event and stack unlimited points. Only your best 50% of results count. So if your league has 12 events, only your 6 best results will count towards qualification. At the end of the season, the top 18 riders in the Western European League qualify for the final. From North America, 14 spots are available, 7 from Eastern USA, 3 from Western USA, 2 Canadians and 2 Mexicans. Other leagues each contribute between 1 and 3 riders depending on the league size. In dressage, the path runs through Grand Prix competitions. At each qualifier event, riders first compete in a Grand Prix and must score at least 60% to advance to the Grand Prix freestyle to music. This is where the World Cup points are actually awarded, on the same 20-point down to 2-point scale as jumping. Riders must have scored at least 68% in the Grand Prix freestyle to music on 2 separate occasions to be eligible for qualification. The final field is capped at 18 combinations, with 9 spots reserved for Western European riders, 3 for North America, 2 for Central Europe, 1 for the Pacific League, and the remaining spaces are allocated to non-league nations and the defending champion. Once qualified, riders travel to the final with all their league points reset to 0. From there, it's 3 competitions in jumping and 2 in dressage that determine the World Cup champion. The road is competitive and precise, but the final is the pinnacle of the indoor equestrian season.
Super stuff. Thank you so much to Rosie for pulling that together. Just to break it down and make it all make sense about the path that all of these riders and their horses have followed to get there, because they do really have to campaign. They have to move around the world. They have to collect those points. They have to get those scores in the dressage in order to enable them to be here in this arena, in the Dickies Arena in Fort Worth as well. So over the next few days, as we heard there's going to be a series of competitions in both the dressage and the show jumping. What can we look forward to then? Well, Thursday, that of course being today. Honestly, sometimes we don't know what day it is here, do we? Because we're all over the world. We're global. We're worldwide. At 1:15 p.m. CT, so of course that is in Texas, and 8:15 p.m. here in Europe. That is the FEI Jumping World Cup first competition. So it all gets underway this afternoon in Texas. In the evening in Texas then, 6:15 p.m., that is the FEI Dressage World Cup Grand Prix. Of course, all important competition. In the dressage, they really need to make a mark here if they're going to move through to the freestyle. It is, of course, 1:15 a.m. in Europe, but, you know, party on down. Get your champagne out, get your popcorn out, get your jammies on, and get in front of the TV if you are watching in Europe. We'll bring it all to you on FEI TV and, of course, Clip My Horse TV. And you, of course, join us on Clip My Horse TV for the In and Out Studio Show World Cup Finals. That's every day at 4 p.m. in Europe and 9 a.m. in the US. And what we're going to do is we're going to break everything down for you. We're going to bring you all the news, bring you all the analysis, bring you all the stats, and get you well and truly prepped ahead of all of the sport that is coming your way. So we talked about the qualification process there, Charlotte. So we're all clear on that now. It's the format that we want to talk about, how it works over the course of this week, because that is really important, particularly in the jumping, because again, it can be a little bit intimidating and it takes a bit to get your head around maybe. So if you're new to it, we're going to explain it to you. And if you need a refresher, we're going to do that too. Take a look.
It's World Cup Finals week, but how does it all work? Let's start with jumping. This is a championship final with a difference. It takes place over several days and is made up of 3 competitions. The first, a speed class. Riders jump against the clock, but instead of traditional faults, penalties are converted into time. A rail down, they sit very much in contention. It keeps the competition open and competitive from the start. Complete competition 1 and you're eligible for the second. Proving consistency is key. And it's a familiar format, an initial round against the clock with a jump off if needed to decide the winner. Then comes the final competition, and this is where it really gets serious. It's a 2-round competition over a Grand Prix course with no jump off. The second round is more demanding, and only the best make it through. At this point, every rail and every mistake counts. Why? Well, that's because what really sets the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup final apart is the scoring. In the first 2 competitions, riders earn points based on their placing. The system is designed so that the winner gets the highest score, then the points drop incrementally down the leaderboard. The winner of each competition gets 1 point more than the number of starters. The second place rider receives 2 points less than the winner. Third place receives 3 points less, and so on. Each rider has their points from both competitions added together, then they are converted into penalty points for the final competition. The top 30 go through and the rider leading on points starts competition 3 with 0 penalties. All the other riders have their penalty score calculated by taking the difference between their points and the leader's points, then multiplying that difference by 0.5. The idea behind this? Well, it's to keep the penalties small enough to keep things close. One rail down, which is 4 faults, can completely change the leaderboard. The top 20 after the first round of competition 3 jump in the all-important second round, and the rider with the lowest score at the end is crowned the winner. And if there's a tie for first place, then it all comes down to a jump-off. Now let's switch to dressage, where the format is completely different. Dressage competitions are built around 2 tests. The first is the Grand Prix, which acts as a qualifier. Riders perform a set test judged on precision and harmony. To move forward, they need to score at least 60%. Then comes the highlight, the freestyle to music. This is where the riders design their own choreography set to music, combining technical difficulty with artistic expression. It is not just about accuracy, it's about performance, creativity, and connection with the horse. Only the top combinations from the Grand Prix move on to the freestyle, and the starting order is reversed, so the best combinations go last, building the excitement right to the end. But in both jumping and dressage, one thing is the same: consistency, partnership, and performing under pressure. And that is what makes a World Cup champion.
Super stuff. Thank you very much to Rosie, who will be keeping us informed all week, of course, and breaking it all down for us. Just looking at that lady there, of course, Lottie Fry, the defending champion, elects not to return, although the defending champion, both disciplines, does get a free pass, free ride. They can attend if they want to, but both defending champions, Julian Eppard in the show jumping, Lottie Fry in the dressage, have elected not to come to Fort Worth this year. As we said earlier, it's a big championship year, so there could be other things where the horses will be better suited on the schedules.
Yeah, and there's a lot of travel involved as well. We'll be in Aachen this year, which is in Europe, and then to travel all the way out to Texas, it might just not fit in their calendars at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And the primary focus, of course, being the welfare of the horses. They know how much travel they can do without taking any risks, and making sure they're in prime health for performance as well. So that's really important to note. Sticking with dressage, we want to talk about that today because, of course, it is the Grand Prix today. There's been a lot of stories coming out of dressage. We saw that Lottie Fry won't be in attendance. Another Charlotte Dujardin, was on the list but withdrew very late. Of course, we haven't seen Charlotte in the sport for some time, but was sort of starting to edge her way back into the sport. She won't be riding. Also, none of the big names campaigned in order to get here to Texas, so we won't be seeing them, but some we are seeing coming out, and some fantastic riders we're going to see. Patrick Kittle and Touchdown, who's actually rides for Sweden. He is married to an Australian though, so he's our favourite son-in-law, and he is training Serena Ireland, who is competing for Australia this week as well, so that's a really nice story. And that we've been privy to, we've been following, is Alexa Fairchild. She rides for Belgium, and Alexa has decided to make the journey to Fort Worth, but she's got someone riding shotgun there. She'll have someone in the saddle with her as well. She has also announced recently that she's expecting a baby, so that will be super sweet to see. Pregnant mama on board there at a World Cup Championship. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, not the only female athlete to compete at the top level of our sport while pregnant and carrying the bub. We've seen it before. I mean, there's some pretty mega ladies out there. Ross Cantor is just the first one off the top of my head. But yeah, incredible stuff and a really nice story to come out of the dress. Something else we want to touch on is a young man who is making his debut at this level, and someone definitely to keep an eye on. Moritz Treffinger is making his way to Fort Worth. This has been his road to Texas. It's been pretty incredible. Has been able to get to compete in 6 separate legs and earned himself, 42 points. His actual league ranking is 13, and so we'll be heading there. Well, he's in Fort Worth this week, so one certainly to keep an eye on with Fighter Dance as well. And another person we're always keeping an eye on, because it's hard not to have an eye on this lady. She's a real character, and that is Becky Moody. She rides for Great Britain. This is a horse she has produced herself. She is co-owner of the lovely Jaeger Bomb, or Bomb as he's known. Competed in 3 legs of the qualifiers in order to undertake that road to Texas. She has a total points of 54, and her ranking in her league, she's sitting at number 7. So you'd have to say she goes in with some pretty good odds in this week, and we'll be really excited to see more. See more? Well, you certainly can. This is one girl that if she doesn't come back to Great Britain, I won't be surprised. We will have lost her to the honky-tonk cowboy lifestyle of Fort Worth. It's Becky Moody.
So I am Becky Moody, and I am here in Fort Worth with the legend that is Jaeger Bomb for the World Cup Dressage Finals. Since we arrived here, we have got the most awesome pair of cowboy boots and our new hats. So yeah, we have just the very best cowboy hat, personalised. So we're looking at charms, especially for us. So super cool. That just pin. You can pin like wherever, like round the rim. Yeah. Or yeah. Wherever you want. Okay. Oh, wherever you want. Jaeger Bomb travelled really well. It was the first time that he's been on an aeroplane. So it was a little bit scary. I think probably more scary for Kim and I. Bomb was pretty chill about it all. Kim actually left home with him on the Wednesday. I didn't fly out until the Sunday. So that was a really, really long 5 days of not being with Bomb. What should we stamp? We can have all sorts of different hearts, Texas, crosses, bulls, but he is doing great, so all is well. Is there a Jaeger Bomb? There is not a Jaeger Bomb, no. But I could have B and B. So Bomb, it has to be said, has turned into a teeny weeny bit of a diva. He is the sweetest horse in the world, but he has become somewhat accustomed to these big shows where he has Kim and I just like all to himself. So, you know, if you don't scratch him enough, if he doesn't get enough carrots and apples, you know about it. And then when he goes home and he's one of 28 and the poor girls have to look after all of them, not just him, he's a little bit disgruntled about that now. But, you know, he has actually had like Uber Eats deliveries here in Fort Worth just for him. So he has had his carrots and apples brought in by a selection of different Uber drivers. He is the sweetest horse. I mean, he has the most fantastic temperament. You know, I've known him because I bred him, so we have done everything together, and you don't really get to know a horse any better than that. I think he will cope well with the arena. He's coped with a lot of big stadiums and things, so hopefully, you know, the American audience will give us a great boost when we go in there, and he'll be on fire.
Oh, we just love it, and a huge good luck to Becky and to Bomb this week. Absolute diva. A horse is receiving Uber Eats carrots. It's just next level.
As he should. He looks like he deserves them.
He does. He looks like a goodest boy, and he well and truly deserves them. Good luck, Bomb. We cannot wait to see how he performs in that big arena there in Texas. We are going to dig in now to the good. This is where you just absolutely shine, Charlotte. We're going to dig into the analysis. We want to start talking about this jumping class that is coming up today, because I know you have been examining this very, very closely. And we're going to start where we always start, and that is by looking. It really lends some gravitas to this situation, doesn't it, when you look at the former champions list. Let's take a look at that now.
Yeah, so we've had World Cup finals since 1979. I couldn't fit them all on this graphic. We will chat about them, but here are the former champions since 2010. Obviously, Julien Epaillard won this last year. He was absolutely incredible out there. Not back to defend his title, but Henrik von Eckermann is a defending champ, won it twice. We're also not seeing him back again, but we are seeing Steve Guerdat, who is a 3-time winner in 2019, 2016 and 2015. So he is back. He unfortunately had to miss last year's World Cup finals, but he's back to compete, and I'm so excited. Strong list. I mean, even if we go back way into the history, we John Whittaker, for example, won it over 30 years ago, and he's still competing in the sport.
Yeah.
Meredith Michaels-Beerbaum is also a 3-time winner. Hugo Simon, the very first World Cup final champion, also won it 3 times. I mean, this is a list of winners, of champions that are so steeped in our sport.
Yeah.
Putting your name on this list means something.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and you can see it almost begs no conversation, those names on that list. Incredible. And from those names on that list, that's where we start to see some of these stories that are going to come to the fore. I think one of the biggest stories that is going to come out of here, I mean, when we say, look, oh, it's been a year where riders have had to choose and they're making decisions and we're not going to see every incredible names come forward, do not doubt that at all. Here are these two.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're unfortunately not seeing the world #1 Scott Brash in Fort Worth this week, but we do have the world #2 and the world #3. And I feel like this kind of 3-way rivalry is coming up in the sport this year and is really going to set the theme for 2026 between Richard Vogel, Ken Farrington, especially this week, and then also Scott Brash, you know, along the rest of the season. But this week, Ken Farrington versus Richard Vogel, I think is going to be so exciting to watch with the favorite horse. I mean, we're going to see that unfold. I think it's going to be so electric. They're such fast riders.
Such fast riders. And as you say, they've been, you know, pitted against each other in recent time with this form coming forward. I think what we need to do then is early doors, we want to have a look at the overall win chances, don't we? Before we get into today's class, because today's class is a really interesting format. And while there are often some trends that today's class can have an impact in the result, this is also interesting too.
Yeah, exactly. So if we are looking at the entire championship, so over the 3 days of jumping, these are the win chances for that. And then we see obviously Ken Farrington as the favorite on a 22% win chance, which is very significant. It's a 1 in 5 because he's bringing not just 2 of the best horses in the field this week, but they are 2 of the best horses in the world. They rank amongst the top 6 rated horses in the entire world currently, and that is Guerdat and Tulina. Guerdat obviously just fresh off that win in Wellington during week 12 in the Rolex in the 1 Million Grand Prix. So, you know, in incredible form. Tulina coming forward for today. We have our 3-time champion, Steve Guerdat, who is the second favorite on Alpfuren's Yashin Sita on a win chance of 12%. So you do actually see quite a big gap between Kent and Steve, meaning that, yeah, Kent really is kind of very clear favorite based on the numbers, but also Martin Fuchs is there. Our Richard Vogel and the are on such incredible form, and we will get into them a little bit later. Maybe a little bit lower on the win chances because that horse is a little bit younger with a little bit less experience, but the experience that they have is incredible.
Yeah, it really packs a punch.
Yeah.
And of course, as I alluded to, and we're going to talk about this a bit more as we roll through the rest of our show, is today's real impact on the last day, on the final result. It really can. It can set things up, and it has traditionally in the past. So it would be interesting to see how that all comes about, of course. You spoke about stories coming out. We spoke about, obviously, Vogel v Farrington. The other story that is really rolling out of these championships, or rolling into these championships, is a man who is like a phoenix from the ashes. He's coming back from an injury himself. He had to sit out the last championship, and he is a 3-time winner. He is going for an historic 4th win, and I speak, of course, of the big Stevie G, Steve Guerdat, the G-Meister, as I've begun to refer to him. Don't call it a comeback, Charlotte.
Well, I mean, a comeback only in the sense of that he missed out on last year's World Cup finals because he did qualify, and he qualified with his bad back. I remember in Gothenburg, it was all or nothing whether he would. Maybe that pushed it a little bit too far and actually wasn't fit enough to ride those World Cup finals. But he's back, he looks healthy, he looks strong, and I mean, he's already won 2 World Cup qualifiers since he came back from that back injury. So I don't know what they did in there or bionics are in his back right now, but it seems to be working because with Alpfjord's Jashensit, which is the horse that he has here this weekend, he won the World Cup qualifiers in Leipzig and in Helsinki just in the past 2 or 3 months. So the form is there. He knows how to win a World Cup finals because he's done it 3 times before. Can he do that historic 4th?
Yeah, it would be an unbelievable scenes, and he will carry so much. There'll be so much emotion around this story, even in that stadium in Fort Worth, around his story, around him returning. I think the energy will lift when he comes into the stadium as well. I think that'll be really around him. So really good stuff to watch. And of course, as you said, an incredible road to this championship. We're going to check out his path to Texas.
Three titles already to his name, but no one has ever won 4. Could this be the year Steve Guerdat makes World Cup history? His qualification campaign starts late in Mechlin. Half of the qualifiers are already over. But Guerdat needed the time to recover from a serious back injury. That forced him to miss the 2025 World Cup final. Still, in Mechlin, he and Alpfjord's Jashensit delivered a solid round. 4 faults, 13th place, and his first 4 points on the board. In Basel, it's another rail down, 12th place, adding 5 more points. At that stage, Guerdat had almost written off this World Cup season. But then comes Leipzig. A clear round, first into the jump-off.
5 strides down to that vertical. A little rub, but he's okay.
Well, that was a tremendous start of the jump-off here in Leipzig. Steve Guerdat, Alpfjord's Jashensit. They stopped the clock 42.21. 0 penalties, 42.21 is the time to beat.
And no one can catch him. Victory for Steve Guerdat and 20 crucial points. Suddenly, the final is back within reach. And Guerdat decides to go all in, heading to Helsinki. The 13th and final qualifying leg. One last chance. Can he still make it?
This is going to be very quick indeed. Will Steve Guerdat go into the lead? Yes, he does. What a treat. Stops the clock, 38 dead. Steve Guerdat, the world number 17, who's won so many medals and achieved so much in the saddle, in this sport, goes into the lead in Helsinki with Alpfjord's Jashensit. He's just expressed his feelings, how important this series and the Longines FEI World Cup final mean to him. He's on his way to Texas. Can he be the first athlete in history to take 4 Longines FEI World Cup finals?
History is within reach. See you in Fort Worth.
We certainly will be. Big thanks to Rosie for pulling that together for us. Certainly we'll be seeing a lot of Stevie G. That is what cool. So we've got plenty more coming for you in the In and Out studio, of course, and throughout the week on FEI TV and Clip My Horse TV from Fort Worth for these World Cup finals. But of course, there's plenty more on Clip My Horse TV for you to enjoy. A new series that has dropped onto the platform is called Gallop the Globe, and we've got a sneak peek for you now.
Oh, excuse me. You're invited to a new Clip My Horse TV adventure. From the show rings of Sweden to the Derby fields of Hamburg to the sun-soaked arenas of Florida. This is Gallop the Globe, where world-class equestrian sport meets global travel. I'm your host, Carly Rain. I'm a lifelong horse lover with a passion for traveling, and I'm here to take you along for the ride. Join me as we discover each city through horses, culture, fashion, food, and unforgettable stories. Stay tuned for more episodes. It's time to Gallop the Globe.
It's good to be Carly, Cutie Pie Carly Rain there. Check out Gallop the Globe. It really is a lot of fun all the good stuff that comes with the horse shows she gets to take a look at and bring you behind the scenes. Super cool. We are going to get back into today's class now. We want to break down how this class is going to work because we said the format, you really want to get your head around it so you understand what's going on in the arena because it is incredibly exciting stuff, Charlotte. It really is. Let's take a look at 4 facts about this class. Let's set you up in the right way. It is the FEI Jumping World Cup. It's the first competition. It's a class about speed and handiness, as they say. The aim is to be clear and to be quick. I mean, let's just say it's probably obvious. It usually is in show jumping, but particularly important on this occasion because each rail down here equates to 3 seconds of time added. So it's really important. Each rail you knock down, it means you need to put the foot to the floor if you're going to get through there with the least amount of penalties. It's no joke though. It's still 1.60 metres in height. It's a full up track. It is of course the biggest competition in the world. And today's winner receives 36 points. And we're going to break down the point system in a minute because that's what the riders are doing over the course of these 3 competitions. They are accumulating points and that is important to know. So that is coming up for you this afternoon, of course, all of the action in that class. We want to talk about how important then, Charlotte, this competition is to the rest of the week.
Short answer, day 1 is incredibly important at World Cup finals because the last 7 World Cup champions were the leaders after day 1. Mm-hmm. So the last 7 times that we have seen this day 1, the person that led became World Cup champion on the Sunday. So riders are really going to try and get this right. Now, obviously, we have had what I find very interesting is when we look at Steve Guerdat, who has won this championship 3 times. He's one of the early riders, well, he's the last rider who actually won it coming in from a 4th place on day 1, and then the year before actually finished 5th on day 1. So if anyone, without having led from day 1, it might be Stevie G. So that is very interesting. Yeah. But it just goes to show that today is not a joke. Yeah. Today is serious business. It really puts you up for success. And it could really kind of change up the numbers, change up how we view the rest of the competition days when we see the result of today. So it really is, the pressure is on. This is not a warm-up class. We're straight in. We're straight into the championship, we're straight into the competition. Yeah, and the aim of the game, you want to grab all of those points. Having a look at that there, as you can see, very, very interesting numbers, isn't it, after day 1, all of them sitting there in first place. So, I mean, it might be quite exciting if they mix it up a little bit. It might really hook us in and, mean we're going to really enjoy watching the rest of how it all unfolds. Well, exactly, and it's actually in 2010 when Marcus Henning won. He was in 10th position after day 1, so it is possible, but we just haven't seen it in 16 years. Yeah, that is exactly right. I think that it's someone interesting to take a story that I've really caught my eye. This is someone who will be making her debut. She has had an absolute steaming run into this championship. I think she's probably still spinning, like thinking about this, but I mean, she's such a cool cat. And it's Jessica Burke. She comes to represent Ireland, and this story is incredible. Oh, absolutely. I mean, she has this 10-year-old who is obviously 10 years old at this stage of the year and in a horse's career is still very young at the highest level, but is already one of the top 5 10-year-olds globally. So has already put in the work. Obviously being able to qualify for World Cup finals in and of itself is a very big achievement. So, really up there in terms of ratings. We'll be able to see how she qualified, but has been really consistent on that World Cup circuit throughout those qualifiers, and obviously the highlight being that win in Bordeaux where her family was present, where the breeders of the horse were present. I mean, it's a great win from a performance point of view, but also from an emotional point of view to have everybody there and cheering her on. And I think that just really puts a lot of wind under a rider's sails and gives so much confidence going into a championship like this one in Fort Worth. It's a lot of travel involved, but I think, this is a rider that can really step up to the plate and really deliver for Ireland, because as we've seen in our past winners table, we haven't had an Irish flag there. No Irish rider has become World Cup champion before. It would be great if we could see Jessica Burke kind of stepping forward and doing that for the Irish team.
Yeah, and that amazing first ever female in Bordeaux, and that was absolutely incredible as it was. Like, what an amazing story. I'm a really big fan. I have been for a while. To see her step onto the big stage. You know, she's making her 5-star debut very, very early on in the season. So this is lovely, and the story of the horse as well, I think, is really, really nice. So let's take a closer look at her road to Texas.
Oslo, the opening leg at the FEI Jumping World Cup, and the stage for Jessica Burke's 5-star debut with her 10-year-old gelding, Guerdat de Barry.
Very good partnership, those two together. What? This line has been the most difficult part.
4 faults, only 15th place, but also the beginning of her points campaign. Throughout the qualifying season, she builds her total slowly but steadily. Not many points at a time, but consistently. 9th place in Verona, 8 points. 4 faults in Stuttgart, 2 points. In Mechlin, she adds another 8. Almost feels like a curse. In every qualifier, exactly 1 fence comes down. With 6 points in Basel, Jessica has a total of 26 so far. A ticket to the final seems unlikely. But then comes Bordeaux, and with it, the biggest moment in the Irish rider's career. Because here, she finally breaks her 4-fault curse.
Now down to the last. What a brilliant round. 72.43 is the time. That is a clear for Ireland. It's the clear round number 4, Jessica Burke, with the 10-year-old gelding Guerdat de Barry. Go clear in Bordeaux. They have picked up points at all the other qualifiers, the 5 they have been in. They've actually had a fence down in each of the first rounds. So such progress into the jump-off in Bordeaux.
Can she make it count this time? No woman has ever won this qualifier.
Can Jessica steal it from the men with this fabulous 10-year-old? Takes a nice wide turn, gets a good shot at that upright. Now she goes down to the last. She's keeping the pressure on a little bit, but she just needs to pop it over and it's clear. And she's done it! Absolutely brilliant. Jessica Burke for Ireland takes the Longines FEI World Cup of Bordeaux with the 10-year-old gelding Guerdat de Barry. What a tremendous moment. They've had a brilliant record to date in the World Cup qualifiers, and she has now added 20 points to the 26 she already has in the Western European League, and Jessica Burke has, we can confirm, achieved a ticket to the Longines FEI World Cup final in April in Fort Worth, Texas.
Congratulations, Jessica Burke and Guerdat de Barry. See you in Fort Worth.
Oh, lovely. Cannot wait to see Jess out there. Really wishing her the best of luck through this first round and then on into the week. Super stuff, Jess. Can't wait to see more. We're going to dig in now, Charlotte. We've got more analysis as we get down closer to the sport, of course, coming your way on Clip My Horse TV and FEI TV, most importantly. Let's take a look then at the ones on form, because there's a lot of form.
This
lineup.
This is a very exciting storyline. I mean, you can see it. Gangster Mondesir, 6 rounds, 6 clears, 100% clear rate. Yep. And that is not just in the last 12 months. I mean, everything in this table is in the last 12 months. But for Gangster Mondesir, that is his career statistics at 5-star 160. So he jumped clear in his very first, his second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 5-star 160. He has never knocked a rail at this level. So this is obviously another step up for the horse in a championship situation, but this is such an exciting horse to look forward to. Also only 10 years old, just like Jessica Burke's horse, the 3rd rated 10-year-old in the world, actually. But I mean, for a horse that has never knocked a rail, going into a championship like this, is so exciting because he has all the form, but obviously, whereas he's been jumping in Wellington, which is outdoors. It's a little bit of a different environment. We're now going indoors to the Dickies Arena. Everything is a little bit closer. So how will the horse manage? But he's got such a good jockey on his back with Richard Vogel, so I think that's going to be very exciting. And that's where you see immediately a little bit our storyline unfold of that Richard Vogel versus Kent Farrington, because second in line as the one on form is Kent Farrington's Tulina. 10 clears from 15 rounds, so obviously she has jumped. Gangster has. She's a year older, so she has been campaigned a little bit more. These are the horses for today's class, so we don't have Greya in there yet. I'm sure we will get to her as the week progresses. But a very interesting one actually is Aiken Sato with Catalana.
This is an interesting story coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like we have never seen an Irish World Cup champion, we have never seen a Japanese World Cup champion. And, you know, this horse is coming in on, yes, a smaller volume of rounds, but 3 clears from 5 rounds, 60% clear rate. And what's actually interesting on this table is when you see that average clear percentage of 22%, that means those 2% of horses jumped clear over the courses that Catalano jumped. But he maintained a 60% clear rate, which means he was really outperforming the average competitor. So even on hard courses, he is jumping clear. So outsider coming in, we're not used to maybe seeing a Japanese rider at the top of a World Cup finals podium, but coming in very strongly here.
Yeah, really strong. Trains, of course, with Yuri Mansour. So works with Yuri Mansour. And so really interesting that the technical know-how of it, with the difficulty of the course, that's something that they both kind of really enjoy, and that's super to see. And of course the other, you know, we saw Laura Kraut there. That's overlook either. And Daniel Deusser. I mean, the names on the list there are incredible as they come forward for this. So I'm looking forward to this class. I think, as you mentioned, this is the story du jour, and will probably continue to be a story over the course of the week. And this is the favourite versus the form. And when we look at this, I mean, it's you could either one. I mean, you could be one or t'other, couldn't you? If you have a look at this favourite versus form here, it is, of course, Farrington v Vogel.
Yes, so exciting. So I actually had a look at the horses that they have here this week in Fort Worth. So Vogel has Gangster, Farrington has Greya and Tulina. And I went and had a look and tried to find out if those horses had ever faced each other in the past couple of months. And they have. So in the World Cup of Arcadia, it was Tulina versus Gangster. And Gangster finished second, so ahead of Tulina, and beat Tulina on penalties because Gangster jumped clear and Tulina had a fence down, but also on the time in the jump off. Gangster was actually a little bit quicker, not much, marginally, less than a second, quicker than Tulina. Then we saw Greya Wellington during week 5 and week 12. The week 5 Grand Prix, we saw Greya actually go faster than Gangster in the jump off, but knock the last fence. Which meant Gangster won that Grand Prix and Greya finished 5th. And in week 12, the roles were reversed. But knocked the last rail. But Greya stayed clear and won that Grand Prix. So this has kind of been maybe a little bit of a storyline that has been brewing between these two out in the US. And now could potentially come to a head where we're seeing two of the fastest riders with two of right now, go head-to-head over a multiple-day format. I think this is going to be so electric. I actually cannot wait to see who comes out on top here.
The echo ratings, sort of the idea there is where we're saying this, Richie could really challenge. There's no argument to say, other than potentially a mindset that it's who he's coming up against here, that he couldn't throw down and take this.
Either one. The disadvantage that Richard has is that his horse has less experience. The advantage that Kent has is he has 2 different horses, so he might have 2 fresher horses. but it's all to see. It's all to play for. And I think it's going to be so exciting. I don't think Richard is going to play it safe because his horse is only 10 years old. I don't think Richard is one to play it safe when it comes to a speed class. And what's also very exciting is that actually Vogel is going to have the advantage of being able to watch Kent Farrington's round because Kent is 15th to go, and that might also play into Richard's advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And the course will be well jumped of what it is looking like at that stage, because the course will be an interesting factor here today. Let's look at the favourite then a little bit more. We've talked a lot about him. Obviously the two horses come forward absolutely spoilt for choice. I mean, some might say, oh well, you know, you ride Talena on the first day and say, you know, then I have a nice choice, or Talena could rest and come back, or then I bring Greyer forward if I need to gather some points and I know I need a sure thing. So again, strategy comes into that thought process as well.
Yeah, and what's actually interesting is Kent did a very similar thing 2 years ago at the World Cup Finals in Riyadh, where he brought these. They were then only 9 years old, so they were actually a little bit unknown to the public and to all of us. Brought both Greyer and Tulina, jumped Tulina on the first day in that first final competition. Finished, I think, fourth or fifth in that. Then rode Greyer for day 2 and day 3, and finished just beside the podium in 4th place in the overall rankings. But I think this, now that these horses are 2 years older, they are amongst the best rated horses in the world. Yeah. Top 6, Greyer number 3, Tulina number 6 in the world globally.
Yeah.
At the moment, they are both in Kent Farrington stable, and they are both at Fort Worth for the World Cup final. So that is absolutely incredible. But now they are back for the rematch. They want to get that spot on the podium, and if I know Kent, preferably the top spot.
Preferably the top spot. If we know anything about this man, if we've learned anything about him at all, that is where he will want to be then. If we are looking at these win chances, that's going to get him there, you would say?
Yes, so these are the win chances just for today's class.
Yes, yeah.
For this Table C competition, the speed class, of course, I don't think it comes to anyone's surprise that we would see Kent Farrington and Tulina at the top there as a favourite, but actually joined quite closely by a teammate, Laura Crow and Trebien. They won the World Cup qualifier in Washington to qualify for these World Cup finals. Very fast in a jump off there as well. The French, they're always fast. Kevin Stout, Visconti de Telman, also amongst Martin Fuchs. I mean, you see our Swiss boys come back in there, Steve Guerdat, Martin Fuchs. And of course, I think this will be a very interesting kind of storyline. Mimi Gotchman coming forward for her first ever World Cup finals and really in with a shot here on the first day. And we know how important the first day is. We've talked about it. So if she could get a good round in today, that could really set her up for a very positive first experience at a World Cup finals.
Forward to in today's jumping. Can I get a name from you then? Who's going to take the win here today? Who's going to take the 36 points?
The 36 points, I think, are Richard Vogel's.
Richard Vogel's, yeah, okay. I'm going to go with you, actually. I think Richie Vogel, the People's Prince of show jumping, could take it, but it's going to be quite some show. So there's plenty to come, as we say. Let's take a look at what is coming your way from those World Cup finals in Fort Worth. 1:15, of course, sees the kickoff. That is Fort Worth time. That is the kickoff with the first competition shortly underway in the jumping just thereafter. That's 8:15 p.m. in Europe. And for the dressage, that's an evening class in Texas. That's 6:15 p.m. Everything gets underway there with the Grand Prix. And that's at 1:15 a.m. So like I said earlier, get the bubbles out, get the dance party going. Maybe just put on some country music, get your cowboy boots on, get dancing, rev yourself up, and then sit down and enjoy the dressage. Of course, we are going to be with you for the next couple of days as well. We're going to bring you some of the news early on in the day, and then of course a full breakdown and review for you at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Europe, and that is 9 a.m. in. Super excited. We're going to be fueled on coffee and cowboy hats. I said hats. I did say hats, Shelley.
Hats and boots.
Hats and boots. That's exactly right. Plenty to come your way from the In and Out studio. It's been a pleasure to be with you so far. Looking forward to the rest of the week. We're going to see you next time. Take care.
Experience equestrian sport in a whole new way. Enjoy exclusive access to live streams and our extensive archive. See more, discover more with Clip My Horse TV Premium.
He's up and over, he's got goals!
13.
Against the clock, it really didn't matter. Mickey, your defended Kentucky.
No scriptwriter could have ever written a better story.